Your brain is processing 11 million bits of information through your senses, but your conscious mind can only process about 40 bits per second. We are always creating reality through the lens of our perception. This lens is the accumulation of all of our beliefs, our experiences, our expectations, and our emotions. Even in the most horrific circumstances, we still have the freedom to choose our attitude, to choose what meaning we assign to our experiences. Hi everyone, what if I told you that you've never actually experienced reality as it truly is? What if I told you that you are inside a prison of your own making and only you hold the key to your freedom? Inside this episode, I'm going to be talking about how I have not filed my taxes in 5 years. Yes, you heard that right, 5 years. I'm going to be sharing the reasons why and what changed for me so that I am now able to handle this challenge in my life. Today, I'm going to be sharing 6 strategies that will help you shift your perception, because perception is your superpower. We all have this amazing superpower that we don't even realize that we have. Our perception controls everything. It controls our thoughts and our emotions, and what we think and feel about something influences our behaviors, our choices, and our actions. So if you have ever felt stuck, overwhelmed, frozen with fear and anxiety, or even just felt like life was happening to you instead of for you, leaving you feeling powerless, then this is the episode for you. I'm going to be diving deep into the science of perception and why your brain has you inside of a prison, and what you can do to shift from being a powerless victim to being a creator of your life. At the end of the episode, you will feel empowered and free. Let's get real for a second. How many of you have been there? You know, that place where you feel stuck while you're watching everyone else move forward with their life? Maybe you feel like everyone else around you got the rule book for the game of life and you just didn't. Trust me, you're not alone. People everywhere feel overwhelmed by their circumstances, convinced that they have no control. They feel like they're victims of life. We all feel this way sometimes, just no one is talking about it. We all believe the stories our minds are telling us throughout the day. They all sound so convincing and so true. Here's what's going on in your brain when you are feeling this way. When your brain perceives a threat, whether that's thinking about taxes or a difficult conversation that you're needing to have, your body literally goes into survival mode. Your body starts running from the tiger. Your heart rate increases, stress hormones flood your body, and blood flow actually decreases to your prefrontal cortex. And the prefrontal cortex is the part of our brain that is responsible for problem solving and rational thinking. So when you are feeling stuck and overwhelmed and don't know what to do, it's because your body is in survival mode. You're in fight, flight, or freeze. The crazy thing is that your brain cannot tell the difference between a physical threat and a psychological one. So for me, facing my tax situation puts me in fight, flight, or freeze mode. And I start running from the tiger, and I've been running for 5 years. Here's where it gets even more interesting, because once we are in that state, we start coming up with all sorts of stories and excuses, and we believe them. We tell ourselves things like, I'm just not good at organization. I'll never figure this out. Or I always procrastinate, so this is just how I am. Or I just don't know what I'm doing, so I'm going to fail, so why even try? These stories all feel so true, but they are just our brain's interpretations. They are the meanings that we are assigning to neutral events. The problem is that once we start believing these stories, they become self-fulfilling prophecies. Because if you believe that you're not good at something, then you won't try very hard, or you won't even start. And if you don't start or try very hard, then you probably won't succeed, which will just reinforce the original belief. And so it's an endless loop that can keep us feeling constantly stuck and overwhelmed. This is where your power of perception comes in. So let's talk about what perception actually is. Perception is not passively receiving information about the world around you. Perception is your brain actively constructing reality based on your beliefs and your thoughts. Think about it like this. Every second, your brain is processing 11 million bits of information through your senses, but your conscious mind can only process about 40 bits per second. So your brain is filtering out reality based on what it thinks is important, what it expects to see, and what it's looking for. And it uses your beliefs as one of its main filters. This is why when you're thinking about purchasing a car, you start seeing that car everywhere, and it's because your brain has marked it as important. Those cars are there regardless of whether or not you notice them, but your brain has highlighted them, and so you start seeing them everywhere. This is also why two people can experience the same situation and have two completely different experiences. We are always creating reality through the lens of our perception. This lens is the accumulation of all of our beliefs, our experiences, our expectations, and our emotions. The ancient Greek philosopher Epictetus said, "It's not the events that disturb people, it's their judgment about the events." Marcus Aurelius said, "You have power over your mind, not outside events. Realize this, and you will find strength." So what do these two quotes mean? That all events are neutral, and we are the ones who assign meaning to them. This is the power that our mind holds. We are not a passive victim of our circumstances. We are an active participant in creating our own experiences of those circumstances. When you change your thoughts about a situation, it changes your emotional response to that situation. And like I said earlier, when your emotional response changes, your behavior changes. And when your behavior changes, your results change. It's like this beautiful chain reaction. And it all starts with realizing that you have the power to shift your perception. So as a reminder, because this sets the stage for the whole rest of the episode, everything that happens to you is completely neutral until you assign meaning to it. Let's say it starts raining during your outdoor wedding. The rain itself is a neutral event, but the meaning that you assign to the rain determines the whole rest of your day. You could think, this is a disaster, this is the worst day ever, my whole wedding is ruined, and then that's going to put you in a bad mood, which will only cause the bad day and therefore a ruined wedding. But if you think, this is so fun, let's go dance in the rain, or our guests will at least never forget about our wedding, then that will create a completely different experience for you. You'll be able to have fun for the rest of the day. You'll be laughing, and therefore you will have a great, spectacular wedding. Same rain, but completely different experiences based on the meanings that you choose to assign. Think about my tax situation. It's a neutral event. Everyone has to pay taxes, but I was looking at it from a feeling of overwhelm and of powerlessness. I told myself things like, I'll never be able to figure this out. I can't afford someone to help me clean this up. I don't know what I'm doing, or I'm going to be in big trouble, and so this all feels so scary and overwhelming for me, and so I'm just not going to do anything about it. All of these thoughts and these beliefs about my tax situation and my inadequacy to handle it made it so I was paralyzed. I was stuck. I didn't know where to begin or what to do, so I just kept putting it off. I kept ignoring it and running from it until I got a lovely letter in the mail. Even then, I put it off for a few more months because the meaning that I was assigning to the situation was, this is so scary, this is way too challenging for me, and I just don't know what to do. I can't handle this. And so I didn't do anything about it. I stayed stuck and like a helpless victim to life. I was scared to check the mail every day, and I was just unsure of how to move forward. Viktor Frankl said in the book, A Man's Search for Meaning, that even in the most horrific circumstances, we still have the freedom to choose our attitude, to choose what meaning we assign to our experiences. So if he was able to change his attitude and therefore change his experience of being in a Nazi concentration camp, imagine what's possible in our everyday challenges. The beautiful thing is that once you realize that you are the one assigning the meaning, you then realize the power that you have to assign a different meaning. Let's say you're stuck in traffic. Instead of thinking, oh my God, my whole day is ruined, you can tell yourself, maybe the universe is giving me this time to take a breather instead of always rushing around. Maybe you can finally listen to a podcast that you've been wanting to listen to, but you just haven't had the time yet. And this extra time in the car is giving you the opportunity to finally listen to that podcast. Maybe you're stuck in traffic listening to this episode right now. If so, thank you, traffic. This isn't about toxic positivity or pretending that bad things are good. It's about recognizing that you have the choice and how you interpret and respond to what is happening to you. And those choices that you are making are influencing your entire experience of life. Our brains are constantly rewiring themselves based on our thoughts and our experiences. This is called neuroplasticity. Every time you choose a different meaning, you're literally rewiring your brain. So eventually your brain is just going to default to more empowering interpretations. You're not just changing your thoughts, you're changing the neural pathways in your brain, which changes your automatic responses, which changes your life. When you have a more empowering interpretation, you can take charge and become the creator of your life instead of feeling like a powerless victim. When you're in victim mode, life is happening to you. You feel powerless. You feel like you're at the mercy of your circumstances, or other people, or the economy, or your past, whatever it may be. Everything is someone else's fault, and you're simply just trying to survive. We have all been there. I lived in victim mode probably like 89% of the time, the first 38 years of my life. I still dip into victim consciousness from time to time. And that's normal. It's just I have tools and skills now that can help me move out of victim consciousness a lot quicker. Feeling like a victim doesn't mean that you're weak or that something is wrong with you, okay? It means that you are a human being. Our brains are wired to look for threats and blame external factors when things go wrong, and this is a survival mechanism. But here's the problem. When you operate from victim consciousness, you are giving away all of your power. If the problem is out there, then that means that the solution is also out there, which means that you're stuck waiting for someone else to change or for something to change. You're waiting for someone to come in and save you. Creator consciousness is completely different. When you're in creator mode, you recognize that, yeah, you cannot control outside events. You cannot control what happens to you, but you can control your response to what is happening to you. You can change your attitude and your thoughts about what is happening to you. When you are in creator mode, you focus on what you can change instead of only focusing on what you can't change. This doesn't mean that you're responsible for everything that happens to you. That's just another form of victim thinking. But what it does mean is that you have the ability to respond consciously rather than react automatically. An easy example here is, let's say someone is taking a really long time to text you back. You're not responsible for the delay, and you have no control over when they text you back, but you can change the meaning that you are assigning to this neutral event. Creator consciousness is telling yourself, maybe they're busy right now. Maybe they don't have the ability to text me back right now. And I just trust that when they have the capacity to text me, that they will. Having this attitude and this perception is going to make you a lot more patient and a lot more understanding. And so you're going to be able to give them the space and the time that they need without beating yourself up, without sitting there constantly anxious and worried. Victim consciousness is sitting there thinking, oh my God, why haven't they texted me back yet? What did I do wrong? They must be mad at me. They don't actually really like me. And this is all going to make you double or triple text because you're wanting validation. So you're feeling really anxious, right? And so your behaviors are going to change to reflect that perception. I used to struggle with this one all of the time. I used to take any delay in texting so personal, which left me constantly feeling anxious and pretty crappy about myself. It's pretty crazy, the stories that I was telling myself and believing. And so for my taxes, my victim mode was, this is too complicated. I don't know what I'm doing. I'll never be able to figure this out. I'm gonna mess it all up and I can't even afford the help anyways. So why even bother trying? I told myself I have ADHD, so I'm just bad at bookkeeping. And that made it a lot more overwhelming and scary for me. And so all of my energy and focus was on why I couldn't do it and why it was too overwhelming and scary for me. Creator mode in my tax situation is, okay, I'm feeling very overwhelmed right now. This needs to get done. What is one small step that I can take? Who can I ask for help right now? And how can I break this down into manageable pieces? And like I said at the beginning of the episode, I haven't filed my taxes in 5 years. So that means I've been in victim mode for the last 5 years. And I've recently entered into creator mode in the last few months. I met with a tax specialist and she's helping me break it down piece by piece. And I am trusting that I have what it takes to make it through. And I know that it's all going to work out perfectly for me. Is it going to be hard and challenging? 100% yes. It is definitely going to be an expensive lesson to learn, but I now know that my perception of this situation influences how I handle it, whether or not I take action. And it influences how I feel throughout the process. And so having creator consciousness will ensure that I will keep taking the steps necessary to make it through this. The shift from being a victim to being a creator often starts with changing the questions that you ask yourself. So instead of saying, why is this happening to me? You can ask yourself, how is this happening for me? What might I learn in this process? Or what is a step that I can take right now? Different questions literally activate different neural pathways in your brain, which will lead to completely different solutions. So now you might be asking, but how do I actually shift my perception in real time when I'm feeling stuck or anxious or overwhelmed? And so let's dive into the 6 strategies that are going to help you shift your perception. The first strategy is you need to pause. You need to be able to notice when you start spiraling into victim mode. So whenever you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, you can take 3 deep breaths, and this will actually activate your parasympathetic nervous system. And this is going to get you out of the fight, flight, or freeze mode. And when you're out of fight, flight, and freeze mode, your prefrontal cortex comes back online, which means that you're going to be able to get your reasoning back, your logic back, your ability to problem solve and plan is all going to come back online. The second strategy is to start questioning your stories. Ask yourself, what am I telling myself about this situation right now? Do I know that this story is actually true? Usually you'll find out that you're just dealing with your brain's interpretations and the meaning that you're giving instead of actual fact. The third strategy is look for alternative meanings. Ask yourself, how else might I look at this situation? What else could be true right now? What if this challenge is actually an opportunity to learn something new or to show yourself what you're capable of? The fourth strategy is to focus on what you can control. You can get out a piece of paper. On one side, write down things I can control, and on the other side, write down things that I cannot control, and start filling in only the side that you can control. This will immediately shift you out of victim consciousness, and it will highlight the steps that you can start taking to be able to solve this problem or to handle this situation. And that leads me right into the next thing that you can do, which is take one small action. Action changes your state faster than anything else. It doesn't have to be a big step. It can just be a small step. Take one of the small steps that you wrote down in the previous strategy on your piece of paper and actually do it. Any kind of forward action activates the prefrontal cortex, which is on the amygdala. And again, when our prefrontal cortex is activated, our problem-solving abilities are a lot stronger. When we take a step towards solving a problem or handling a situation, it creates momentum. And then momentum creates confidence, which will give you the confidence that you need to handle this challenge. So the sixth strategy is to get your body moving. So like in the last one, we talked about taking a small step towards your goal. And so now we're going to literally take a step. Get your body moving. The body and the mind are connected. And so when you're able to move your body, it kind of drops you out of that overthinking and that overwhelm and that feeling stuck. Get the energy moving, which will help you to have your prefrontal cortex come online. And so you're going to be able to solve this problem a lot more efficiently and effectively. Something that is really helpful is to practice these strategies with small things. So that way the really big things don't feel so overwhelming and challenging, and you will already have these strategies locked into place, and so you'll just default to them. So let me tell you exactly how this played out with my tax situation, because I think it will help. For years, I had been putting off filing my taxes because I had a few bad years at the beginning of the 5 years. Life was pretty chaotic. I was leaving an abusive relationship. I was stuck in my own addiction. And I kept telling myself, I'll get to it eventually. I'll sit down next weekend and I'll bookkeep, I'll track everything, write it all down. And then that never happened because I was in survival mode. When we're in survival mode, right, our amygdala is online. So my planning, my problem solving, my logic, all of that was offline. And I was literally trying to just get through the day. I was struggling financially. I couldn't put food on the table. And so the taxes were just on the back burner. They were just not as important at that time for me. And the more time that passed, the scarier and more overwhelming the situation got. It became more of a I don't want to look under the hood of the car situation. My brain was telling me all of these stories like, I'm going to go to jail. I'm going to get charged with tax evasion. Somehow just all of these things. And so I was literally have been frozen for 5 years, so scared and unsure of what to do or how to even start. I felt so stuck, and I felt like I was a victim. I felt like life was happening to me and that I had no control. Like I said, I was just filled with so much anxiety and fear that I was paralyzed by it. I began to challenge the stories that I was telling myself. I began to ask myself, what is something that I can do in this moment? What is something that I have control over? What is that one small step that I can take? The first thing I did was I contacted the IRS, and I now make voluntary payments. And the next thing that I did was I contacted a tax specialist. And then I made an appointment, and I went to the appointment and I met with her and we talked it all through, and she gave me the steps that I needed to take. And then once those steps are done, then I'll have another set of steps. But I know that I'm going to get through it piece by piece. And like I said, this is going to be a very expensive lesson, and it will be one that I will never repeat ever again. I will be hiring a bookkeeper to do all of the hard work for me, since I already know that I'm not good at it. And I will make sure that my taxes are filed every single year on time. But because I took one action, that led to the next action. And then it led to the next one. And before I know it, I'm going to be at the end of this and it will all be solved. But I never would have been able to have taken that first step if I hadn't changed my perception of the whole situation. Because the meaning that I was assigning to this situation influenced how I felt. And then how I felt about it was influencing my behaviors, my choices, and whether or not I took action. And so when I changed my perception, I was able to make the calls that I needed to make. I was able to take those first steps. My brain was making it out to be a lot bigger than it probably actually is going to end up being. Like I said, I was telling myself things like, I'm going to go to jail, when that's not going to happen, right? But I was believing all of these worst case scenarios that my brain was telling me, which was keeping me stuck in victim consciousness, which became a self-fulfilling prophecy, right? Because if I don't believe I can't do it, then I won't start. And so then I won't be doing it. And then it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. And eventually, I'd probably go to jail, So we often jump right into being a victim without ever stopping and pausing and asking ourselves, what else can be true about this situation right now? And how can I choose a more empowering perspective of this event, this situation, or whatever it is that has triggered you or is a current challenge in your life? Because when we choose to be a creator, only then can we actually create the solution or to create our dream life, whatever it is that we are wanting. Oftentimes, our perception causes a lot more suffering than the situation actually requires. So here's what I want you to walk away with today. You are not a victim of your circumstances. You are not stuck. You are not powerless. You have this incredible superpower, this ability to shift your perception. And when you shift your perception, you literally change your reality. Every moment you are choosing how to interpret what is happening to you. And most of the time you're doing it automatically based on your past and your beliefs. But now you have a choice because you hold the key to free yourself from the prison that you're in. So here's a challenge for you this week. Pick one area of your life where you've been feeling stuck or victimized and apply the strategies that we talked about today. Question your story. Look for alternative meanings. Focus on what you can control. Take one small action and get your body moving. Start small. You don't have to completely transform your entire life or the situation overnight. Just practice shifting your perception one thing at a time and see what happens. Remember that every time you choose an empowering interpretation over a limiting one, you're literally rewiring your brain. You're building those new neural pathways in your brain that are just going to make it easier to default to creator consciousness instead of always automatically going into victim consciousness. You have the choice today to become a creator. Or do you want to remain stuck in being a victim of life? The choice is up to you. Only you have the power to choose. You have so much more power than you realize. Your perception is your superpower, and nobody can take that away from you. Like I mentioned earlier, Viktor Frankl's book titled A Man's Search for Meaning, in it he says, everything can be taken from a man, but one thing, the last of the human freedom, to choose one's attitude in any given set of circumstances. I would love to hear what's one area where you're going to practice shifting your perception. What stories have you been telling yourself? that you're ready to start questioning and shifting. And if this resonated with you, make sure to like, subscribe, or follow, whatever that looks like, from wherever you're tuning in from. In the next episode, I'm going to be talking about how we can shift our perception in relationships with other people and how putting ourselves in someone else's shoes can completely transform all of our friendships and all of our relationships. If you missed any of my past videos or episodes, so far I've talked about how to remember your inherent worth, how your beliefs about yourself were formed. And I talked about the inner critic and how all of those combine influence how you're showing up in the world today. You can check out my playlist in the show notes because they will all be in that playlist. Or if you're listening, and just make sure to check out other episodes on my podcast. Thank you so much for being here today. I really appreciate each and every single one of you. I know that there are a million different YouTube videos or podcasts out there, and I'm so honored that you chose to be here today watching mine. I will see you in the next episode, and I'm sending you so much love. Thank you again for being here. Bye for now.